There are only two ways to make $1 million, the three that I'm going to tell you about in this video. You must have heard somewhere that to make $1 million, you have to sell a $10 product to 100,000 people, or a $100 product to 10,000 people, or a $1,000 product to 1,000 people, or a $10,000 product to 100 people, or a $100,000 product to 10 people. Except that this considers that you have a product with 100% profit margin, which of course is impossible because for any sale that you are going to make, there is a built-in cost, even if it's just the cost of the tax you pay when you receive the payment for it. So most of the time you'll have to consider the cost of goods sold, payroll, rent, electricity, and water bills. All these things that will decrease your profit margin. On the other hand, this little game of 10,000 products to 100 people does give us a nice way to understand the main concept of making money with scale, which is the remuneration for productivity. The first way of making $1 million. What is it like to be paid by productivity instead of being paid by time? If you are paid by time, it means there is a value you charge for your work hour to provide a service or create something. So let's say you are a dentist. You know how much you charge for a consultation, and you know you have a limited number of hours you can live in a day. You are a human being, so you get tired. You can't work all 24 hours. In other words, there's a limit. Not even if you manage to work for a full day in a row, the 24 hours would eventually run out, and you are limited to the value of your hour. Productivity payment, on the other hand, doesn't tie you to time. It ties you to the production you have. So let's say you're going to do a live on the internet. In this live, you will sell some product. For example, a shirt or an info product, or anything you will advertise to your audience. If you are a person who doesn't have many followers, then in your live there are 10 people. So you're going to advertise your product to 10 people. Less than 10 will buy because not everyone always buys. But you are playing the scale game, because maybe in a year's time you will do the same live and you will have 100 people. The next live, 1,000. The next, 10,000 people. It is the same amount of time and effort on your part, but you can reach more people, more sales. That is the concept of scale. You get more results with the same amount of resources spent. And you can see that all the people who have amassed great fortunes have one thing in common. It is the product or service that they have offered by scale, even though they are not too obvious, like for example, a singer. How does a singer earn by scale? He was a born talent that made several people want to consume music. He does events, concerts, he sells records. He has the job of doing these things once, for he can scale to as many people as needed. Another example of scale selling books. You know Agatha Christie, Stephen King, J.K. Rowling. They were all people who became extremely successful because they created a work. They had an individual work for each one of their books, and they had no limit on how much they could be sold. Do you get it? The result you get from the payment is going to be directly related to how much you produce. Much more than the time it takes you to do it. Even if you say, no, I prefer to sell my time because I can infinitely increase the amount of value my hour costs, so I scale that way. No, you can't forever increase the value of something. Otherwise, you don't comply with the law of the free market. If you start charging too much for something that there are other people charging less, as a rule, there will be people who will stop buying from you. But this is not a problem that happens when we think about production more than the limitation of time when we think about scale. And the second way to make $1 million is through consistency. A long-term consistency is investing. Today, if you take $800 a month that you have to invest and you invest it every month at a 15% return per year, after 20 years of doing the same thing, you will have accumulated a net worth of $1.5 million. Which means that the discipline over time, when you stop spending your money on superfluous things and you understand how much it can generate if you just put it in, will make you a millionaire. But we can't be naive, because over time there is a process, a phenomenon that happens intrinsic to our currency, which is inflation. Even if in 20 years you manage to have accumulated $1 million, $1 million in 20 years will not mean the same as $1 million today. Just so you understand, if we consider an inflation rate of 3.5% per year, after 20 years, inflation will have eroded your assets by 50%. This means that everything you have today would be worth twice as much in 20 years, while everything you have 20 years from now would be worth half as much compared to what you have today. If you have $1 million 20 years from now, then that would be equivalent to you having $500,000 now. This is why our focus now cannot simply be on putting money in every month. Of course, it has to happen, but it has to consist also in contributing more in order to reduce your expenses so that you have more money left over, and also always earning more money so that you have more money left over to save. So the secret is this: you don't have to limit yourself to just taking part of your salary that you receive from the company that employs you for you to have the chance of achieving financial freedom in the future 20 years from now. Because you can put together the two biggest drivers of enrichment that exist: financial market and business. I don't say business in relation to starting a company. There are skills that you can apply today to make money related to entrepreneurship that, associated with the financial market, will multiply your potential to generate value for your life so that you can get rich while you're still young. Does this make sense to you? What do you prefer, the first or second way? That's all, folks. Remembering that we are making a lot of content about entrepreneurship in our channel. To keep receiving our content, subscribe to our channel and ring the notifications bell to receive our updates. Our team works hard to bring you quality content. So if you've made it this far in the video, be sure to hit that like button. It's very important to us. Thank you guys so much. We're also on Instagram at thinkbigger.tv. See you next time. And don't forget, think bigger. If you want to watch more themes like this, here are our recommended videos.